Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This day in sports history. It's April 29th, and on this day in 1986, Roger Clemens set a Major League Baseball record that's been equaled, but never bettered. The Boston Red Sox were at home against the Seattle Mariners on this day. It was 23-year-old Roger Clemens getting the start for the Sox. Clemens had a powerful arm, earning him the name Rocket for his blazing fastball. And on this day, not only was his fastball moving, but it was really moving. He faced a total of 30 batters, striking out 20 of them. He sprayed 3 hits but gave up no walks in a complete game 3-1 win. He became the first pitcher to strike out 20 in a 9-inning game. A few had come close. Steve Carlton had a 19-strikeout game in 1969. Tom Seaver equaled that a year later, and Nolan Ryan had his 19-strikeout day in 1974. One of the things that makes Clemens' performance on this day a little more incredible than it already is that he was only a few months removed from shoulder surgery. The radar gun seemed to be stuck on 95 on this day. Every Mariner struck out at least once. Phil Bradley was the unfortunate one that was crowned with the Golden Sombrero for striking out 4 times on the day, including the game-ending, record-setting 20th K of the game. Clemens struck out the side 3 times. His longest streak was 8 consecutive from the 4th to the 6th inning, and the only Mariner run was a solo home run by Gorman Thomas in the 7th. Clemens would go on to lead the American League in wins that year with 24 and had a league-leading ERA of 2.48, and he would win his first Cy Young and MVP. Since that game, Clemens' strikeout performance has been equaled 3 times, but not bested. Clemens actually did it again in 1996. Kerry Wood joined Clemens in 98, and Max Scherzer had a 20K performance with the Washington Nationals in 2016. For a 20-year period, Clemens was pretty dominant. In that 2-decade span, he led the league in strikeouts 5 times, led the league in ERA 7 times, was the AL Cy Young winner 5 times, and the league MVP once. And yet, Roger Clemens is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Many have said that if it was only about the numbers, well, Clemens would have had a plaque in Cooperstown a decade ago. But his legacy has been tarnished by steroid allegations. Clemens appeared in George Mitchell's report on performance-enhancing drugs back in 2007. He was accused by his trainer Brian McNamee of using PEDs. Despite the fact that he went to court, spent millions of dollars clearing his name, and has never been convicted, he hasn't come close to the 75% of the vote needed for Hall of Fame induction. But one thing the baseball writers cannot take away from him is the record-setting performance he had on this day in 1986. Also on this day in 1970, it was Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers. In a furious final flurry, the Knicks went from winning the game to having to play more basketball, with Mr. Clutch Jerry West providing the drama.
7, 6, 5, DeBusschere shoots, hit with 3 seconds to go. 2 seconds, 1 second, West throws it up. He makes it. West threw it up and makes it over half court. The ball game is tied. Jerry West made it from the other side of the midcourt stripe.
West sank a 60-foot buzzer-beating 2-point shot to send Game 3 of the NBA Finals to overtime. Of course, if the NBA had adopted the 3-point shot by this point, it would have been a win for the Lakers. However, West's more than half-court heave just sent the game to overtime. And the Lakers couldn't capitalize on the Logo's clutch shot, as the Knicks won the game 112-108 in overtime. And look, I get it. Rules of the day dictate what happened, but if that shot is a 3 instead of a 2, Lakers win Game 3, and they go on to win the series in 6 games. But that's not how things went. The series would go 7 games and have a dramatic end that I will certainly talk about on the May 8th edition of This Dish. And in 1981, the New Orleans Saints drafted running back George Rogers with the first pick in the NFL draft. The number 2 pick that day? Lawrence Taylor by the New York Giants. Now, using the retro glasses, the Saints missed out. But Rogers was the Heisman Trophy winner out of the University of South Carolina. And to be fair, he had a fantastic rookie year in New Orleans, leading the league in total rushing yards and yards per game. He was the Offensive Rookie of the Year and finished 6th in the voting for MVP. He spent 4 years in New Orleans, which was not a good team in the 80s, and then he went to Washington, where he actually led the league in rushing touchdowns in 1986. But his 7 years in the league compared with Taylor's 13, and the fact that Taylor transformed the linebacker spot in his time there surely made the Saints wonder what they missed out on this day. In Taylor's rookie season, he was the Defensive Rookie of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year. He would go on to win Defensive Player of the Year 2 more times, along with the MVP in '86 when he led the NFL with 20.5 sacks. And time now for today's non-sports fun fact. There's a full-sized basketball court on the 5th floor of the U.S. Supreme Court building. It carries the name, the highest court in the land. That's all for today. A bit shorter than recent editions, but still some good stuff there, and hopefully you'll learn something new. And hey, if you're enjoying the podcast, the best way to show support is with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I would greatly appreciate that. I appreciate you listening today, and I'll return tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.